well, here we have a 5, 6, 6, 7. This is called a nakabukure shape, or a bulging middle shape. So this is very nice. It's two Dianmen blocks next to each other, basically. So it accepts four tiles. The four tiles that are accepted by these two Dianmen blocks, the 4, the 7, the 5, and the 8. And you could also talk about, like, drawing a 5 and that becoming a pair and dropping, like, there's a lot of different things you could talk about. But primarily, you think about them as Dianmen blocks. So they accept a lot of tiles. They only take up 4 spaces. And they also have the flexibility that you can drop this 6 from the middle. And so that's extra flexibility is what makes it better than having two separate Dianmen blocks. Because if you can keep this until you get into Ishanten and just get rid of this 6 in the middle, and all of a sudden you got a block. You don't have to worry about the possibility that you have a Dianmen block that will never get filled in. The bad thing about the nakabukure shape is this 6 in the middle, this 5, 6, 6, 7 in the middle, you can end up with a weight, like a shampong weight that includes the 6 ping, or a single weight, or a tanki weight that is just the 6 ping. Like if this 6 ping is the final pair that you're waiting for, like a 5, 6, 7, and then this 6 by itself is what you're waiting on. That's a really terrible weight because there's only 2 6 ping left. So as far as and it's also going to be somewhere in the middle, unless it's like a 7, 8, 8, 9, then you'd be waiting on the 8, which wouldn't be terrible. It's not great to be waiting on 2 tiles that are probably going to be in other people's hands. So you absolutely don't want to go into Tenpai with this nakabukure shape. But until then, it's a really great shape that is very flexible and takes in a lot of tiles. It's absolutely great. It's not quite as good as the nobetan shape, which is like 5, 6, 7, 8. And we haven't seen one of those. Those are better because the 5, 6, 7, 8, you can take it all the way into Tenpai. If you end up with a pair weight, it's going to be weight on like the 5 and the 8 if it was 5, 6, 7, 8. And the acceptance is basically the same. The only slight bad thing about the nobetan is that it's stretched out a bit further. So it's more likely to be towards the end, and having a nobetan shape towards the end isn't as good as having like a nakabukure shape right in the middle, like this one, 5, 6, 6, 7. So that's the only minor thing that makes them worse, but overall, they're strictly better. Like if you compare 5, 6, 7, 8 versus 5, 6, 6, 7, you'd rather have 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 5, 5, 6, here we got another of these pair plus 1 shapes. So here, these are very nice, very efficient. You can draw a 5 or a 7 here. If you draw a 5, you get a triple. If you draw a 7, you get a 5, 6, 7. Or if you draw, so say you draw a 4, then you get 4, 5, 5, 6. So you get that nakabukure shape. So that's nice as well. Or if you draw, say, a 3, you get a kanchan block there. So even if you have a pair already and you're not necessarily going to use this pair, it could still be useful. Although if you use it that way, it's basically the same as an isolated tile. But it does give you the possibility of the nakabukure, right? That's very good. If you had 2 of these, let's see here. Nope, we're not getting 2 of them. If we had 2 of these, say we have a 5, 5, 6, and say we had a 3, 3, 5, and we had to choose between them. You might say, well, I'll drop this 5 so from the 5, 5, 6. Ignoring the fact that it's Dora. You don't want to drop Dora, obviously. But ignoring that fact that it's Dora. We have a 3, 3, 5 and a 5, 5, 6. You actually want to drop the 5 from the 5, 5, 6. You want to drop something from the better shape. And the reason for that is that this shape doesn't need to develop. Something like a 3, 3, 5 does. The ability to draw a 3, 3, 5 into a triple, or to use that as your pair, that's better because you want to use this at Dianmen block. So just leave it where it is. Let that shape develop. And here's an example of this. We had a 2, 2, 4. We dropped a 2 from that because wait. That's an example of doing the wrong thing. I did that without thinking. I should have dropped the 5 there. And here we have another chance to do the right thing. So a 6, 7, 7 versus a 5, 5, 6. Here, actually, I'm going to want to drop the 7. The 6, 7, because 6, 7 is better than 5, 6. Because it's more towards the outside, the weight is a little bit better. So I dropped something from the better block there. because I want to use the 6-7, and if I drew another 5, I could use the triple. Is already developed into a Yanmen weight or a better weight, a better block. Okay, what have we got here? There's the Kanchan, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, not really any complex shapes here so far. We're still on East 1. Let's see what happens. Go ahead and drop this 1 mon. Drop this green dragon first of all. Drop this 2. But yeah, we've got this Kanchan block, this Yanmen, and this 5 here, which is kind of, if I draw a 4-ping, I'd have a nobetan shape. And now it's like a pair next to a Kanchan. If I drew the 4-ping, then I'd have a pair next to a block, or I'd have a single tile 2, and then 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5 is what's called a nobetan, and that is very good. And here we have a ryankan. We have an actual complex shape to talk about. 5, 7, 9. So what is accepted into that? Let me drop this 1 off. It's kind of useless. So if we draw the 6 so or the 8 so, it'll complete a block. So we draw the 6 and drop the 9, or we draw an 8 so and we drop the 5. And this is a pretty good, it's sort of like a Yanmen block, but in 3 tiles. So it's a less efficient Yanmen block, but you could also draw the 5 or the 9 and get a pair, for example. Oh, and we got what's called a nakabukure shape. Now we're getting a lot of complex shapes here. The bad thing about the ryankan block is that if you take it into tenpai, and say you end up having the last tile you drop be the 9, you're waiting on the 6 so, or if you have the last tile you drop be the 5 so, you'll be waiting on the 8 so. Which is not ideal, like that single Kanchan weight. So if possible, you prefer to fill it in before you get to tenpai, or otherwise get rid of it. Although another thing to consider about the Kanchan is that you can end up in furiten. So say I drew the 8 so here and dropped the 5, I would be in furiten because I dropped this 9 so. So you can easily end up in furiten. That's just something to consider. It shouldn't necessarily prevent you from dropping things from the ryankan. It's just something you need to keep in mind. It's another factor to consider. And on this side we have the nakabukure, 6, 7, 7, 8. So if we let's just ignore this 4, 5 here. Maybe I should have cheated so we could ignore it more easily. But so we have these 2 Yanmen shapes here, 6, 7, and 7, 8. You combine them together, squeeze them together to make a nakabukure, and it accepts 4 tiles into it, the 5, 8, and the 6, 9. And it's just very, very nice and very efficient, and you always have the possibility of dropping out that 7 mon and having a full sequence, so that makes it better than having 2 separate Yanmen blocks. The fact that at any point you can drop that tile from it and use it. And then we have the 5, 6, 7, 8 shape, which is the nobetan block, and it's a little bit better than the nakabukure. And the advantage that it has, so it's still 2 Yanmen blocks, the acceptance is still the same. But I shouldn't have dropped this 4, I should drop these honors. The advantage that the nobetan block has is that if you take it all the way to tenpai, you can end up with a weight on the 5 and the 8. So suppose that you have 3 complete blocks with 3 tiles in each one, and you also have this nobetan shape. Then you're missing a pair, but the weight can be on the 5 or the 8. Either one of them will make a pair, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 5, 6, 7, 8, 8. And I just wanted to say that before I make this shape more complicated. So now this is like a nakabukure, right? 6, 7, 7, 8, if we ignore this 5. It is kind of the opposite. If you take this nakabukure all the way into tenpai, then what you're going to end up with is these 7s in the middle. You may end up having a pair weight waiting on a 7, or a shampoo weight that includes this, and that's not a good thing to end up with because there's only 2 7-mon tiles left. So you could end up waiting on 2 7 tiles, and if one of them has already been dropped, you can end up just waiting on 1. So that's what we call a hell weight, and you absolutely do not want to get that. So you should drop the 7 out of the nakabukure before you reach tenpai, but you can take it all the way to Ishan 10 because it's a really great shape. you still have the same advantage that you have a lot of acceptance in these 4 tiles, the same as 2 Dianmen blocks. But you can drop the 7 at any time and have a full block. It's a huge amount of flexibility, a huge amount of acceptance. It's a great shape that we should all love. It's just mildly a little bit less good than the nobetan shape 5, 6, 7, 8. So yeah, that covers the complex tiles or the complex shapes that have 4 tiles. Except I don't think. Oh, we have one here, don't we? We have this 3, 5, 6, 7. If we ignore the 7, 8, this is a skipping shape. So 3, 5, 6, 7. And again, we have an issue with a possible furiten. If we drop this 3 and draw a 4-mon, we could end up waiting on the 3 and end up in furiten, which is not something that we want to happen. But again, we can't let that paralyze us. If it's really efficient to drop this 3, we should go ahead and drop it. But this 3, 5, 6, 7 shape is not bad. It's better than having an isolated 3, that's for sure. And it's better than if this were, say, a 2, 4, 5, 6, then having that 2 is better than having like an isolated 3. Like it's like one step up in terms of efficiency. And the reason for that is that you have this 3, 5, 6, 7. You can draw the 4 here, or you can draw anything that's like adjacent to this 3 in order to get a block, or you can draw on the other side. You could draw like an 8 or a 9, and that would leave you with a kanchan block on this side. So you get a little bit of extra efficiency. It's a little bit better than just having like an isolated tile. So when you have one of these, you can go ahead and keep it and discard something else if you have like an isolated floating tile somewhere that's around the same level of efficiency. The 3 is the best. The 3 and the 7 are the best tiles anyway. So it's the best kind of isolated tile, and this makes it even better. But if, say, you had a 1 here, then you would prefer that over like a 2. Or if you had a 2, you would prefer it over a 3. Or if you had a 4, you would prefer it over a 3. So yeah, just broadly speaking, these are a little bit better than the isolated tiles of the same goodness. So that covers skipping shapes. I think that's all we need to know about them. The fact that they're good because you can draw on the other side, but you have to worry about furiten, which actually just gives you a little bit more reason to keep the tile. So it makes it a little bit better beyond being able to draw on the other side. And we talked about these pair +1 shapes, 2, 3, 3. I don't know if we've gotten. So let me take a look here. We have this 2, 3, 3, and this 7, 7, 8. If we want to choose between dropping this 3 and dropping this 7, I believe we would want to. Well, these are exactly the same, aren't they? That's not a good example. 2, 2, 3. Yeah, because either way, these are exactly the same kind of Dianmen block. So it's impossible to choose between them no matter how much you try. You just end up wading into looking into oblivion, trying to figure out which one to choose. Or you can use some arbitrary way to choose between them. And now we've already dropped the 3-mon, we may as well drop the other one. Or drop the 2. I think we're at this point we just want to get into tempai before we're exhausted if we can. That is a minor thing to make note of. When it's this late in the game, you can go ahead and just get into tempai. It's still East 1. I feel like we've been playing for an hour here. It's still East 1. Okay, let's see what happens. Come on. That doesn't help me. I got basically one more chance to maybe chi or pawn something. If I believe if I pawn the 7 ping or the 2 mon, I'll be able to get into tempai, so I should do that. And this is, I believe this is a perfect Ishanten, isn't it? Got a 2, 2, 3. So we've got two Dianmen. Do we have 2? We have a 5, 6, 7, 7, 8. So we've got 2 Dianmen blocks. We're in Ishanten, 2 Dianmen blocks, 2 pairs. So this is a, I was distracted talking about that. I should have taken that chi there. That would have put me in tempai. Oh well. A little minor mistake there. I make a lot of mistakes when I'm trying to explain things, but it's alright. Okay, so now we have a 5, 6, 6, and we have the south and the west that we can drop. Penchant block. So we have this 1, 1, 2 compared to this 5, 6, 6. So what we prefer to do, if we're given a choice where we think that we want to drop one of these two blocks, or drop either the 1 or the 6, so that one of them is basically going to be used as our pair. If we drop the 1, we're basically thinking of using the 6s as our pair. And if we're dropping the 6, then we're thinking of using these as our pair. Or we may have another pair, and we're just trying to choose. Like we may have another pair over here, and that may be a more interesting situation because in that case, we don't need to use either one. Like I could just now this 3, 3 here. So I want to choose something to drop here from the 5, 6, 6, the 1, 3, 3, or the 1, 1, 2. What I'm going to want to drop is the 6 pin in that case, because then I'm left with the 5, 6, and these other things can develop further, because we want these we want these shapes that are bad to develop further and to have more possibilities, and this 5, 6 is already good. We don't, if we drew another 6 here, we'd have like a 5, 6, 6, 6, which isn't bad, but the 5, 6 is good enough on its own. And we'd prefer to have more possibilities open over here or over here. And see, we did draw the 5, 6, 6, just as I was talking about it. Drop the 7. And we also have this ryankan block, 1, 3, 5. So the ryankan block, if we draw the 2 ping, we're going to fill in the 1, 2, 3. And if we draw the if we draw the 4 ping, then we'll get the 3, 4, 5, and we can drop the 1. Or we could also say draw a 1 or a 3 or a 5 to get a pair. Or we could draw, say, a 6. We already have a 6 to get a 5, 6. Or we could draw, I guess that's all with this 1, 3, 5. Because we don't have any ryankan blocks we can create on this side, only on this side. The bad thing about a ryankan block, even though the acceptance of it is very good, it has similar acceptance to a ryankan block, but it takes up 3 tiles. So it has similar efficiency to a ryankan block, which we know is very good. But the bad thing about a ryankan shape is that if you take it all the way into tenpai, if you have full shape, if you have a pair and 3 blocks and 1, 3, 5, at that point you're going to have to drop the 1 or the 5 and be waiting on the other kanchan blocks. So you're going to have kind of a bad wait. And that's something that you want to avoid. The other thing to consider for a kanchan block, let me just drop the 6 because I don't care about winning. I want to talk about complex shapes. The other thing about the ryankan block is that you can end up in furiten. Say, suppose I drop this 1, and because I'm starting to drop this ryankan block, and develop somewhere else, and then at some point I draw a 2. So I dropped the 1 and I drew a 2, so I have a 2, 3. I want to keep that 2, 3, but I already dropped the 1. So whenever you have any kind of shape that involves like a distance of like one skip between blocks, like the 1, 3 or the 3, 5, dropping off one of those tiles puts some risk of going into furiten, and it's especially true with the ryankan block, because you have to drop like the 1 and the 5, so there's a lot of like skipping going on there. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't drop it, because you don't want to take it into tenpai. It's just something to be aware of as a risk. And also, just because you end up in furiten doesn't mean like it's hopeless or something, because you can fill in those blocks still. They're not bad blocks. They're just dangerous. They're dangerous to end up with as your final weight. Okay, what have we got here? So we got a 6, 7, 8, 7, 8. You could kind of think of this as a complex shape of a sort. This I think comes up a lot, where it may not be immediately obvious that you have a full block here and a ryankan block, 6, 7, 8 next to 7, 8. It's very useful to catch that and realize that you absolutely do not want to discard anything from here, because this is already a ryankan block in a full sequence, and it's just waiting on it's a 6, 7, 8 and a 7, 8, so it's waiting on the 6 and the 9 to get 2 full sequences here. So this is very good. And you could also get the ipeiko. Okay. And we got the 1, 2, 2 shape, pair plus 1 shape, with the 2's next to the 1, accepting a 2 or a 3 here. Okay, drop the east. So in Riichi book 1, chapter 3.2, I believe it does say that the only tiles that are accepted are the 2 and the 3 there, which is it's not really consistent. That sometimes it considers a lot of different things that can be accepted, because it doesn't say that, for instance, it accepts the Forso to get a Kanchan block. So it's kind of arbitrary. I think what it says is accepted as something that improves the hand. Here it's just focused on the possibility that you'll either get a Penchant block 1, 2, 3, or you'll get the triple 2, 2, 2. But yeah, of course, there's other things that can happen. You could draw a 4 and drop the 1. Or you could draw a 1 and end up with 2 pair, which is not necessarily worthless, especially in a hand where we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I didn't even realize that we have 5 pairs already in this hand. So if we draw 1 here, that actually put us in Tenpai for Chitoi. So yeah, it's not a worthless thing to be able to draw another pair there, but just kind of arbitrarily in chapters 3.3. The acceptance for these pair plus 1 shapes is set at two specific tiles, maybe just to make it a little bit easier to understand. And okay, why don't I have some fun here and Riichi on this Chitoi. So this is not an Ipeiko because we're considering them as pairs, because it's an all pairs Yaku. This isn't 6, 7, 8, 6, 7, 8. It's 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8. We only get the Yaku for Chitoi here, not for anything else. The Ipeiko doesn't count.